The Saints' final injury report is out as they get ready to take on the New England Patriots on the road in Week 5. There was a couple surprises. All right, the guys who are questionable to play include quarterback Derek Carr, James Hurst, Andres Pete, as well as Paulson Adebo. He will likely be up for this game. The guys who are out include Juwan Johnson, Lonnie Johnson Jr., as well as Landon Young. But depending on what's going on with Hurst, this could be a problem at guard for the Saints.
That was a surprise, and that's something that seems to have occurred today. He wasn't on the injury report all week. When someone pops up at the end of the week, it's usually bad news. Don't want to jump to conclusions, but like you said, I think you put a red ring around this because Andres Pete's also on that list in concussion protocol. So is this a week where like Nick Saldiveri gets leaned upon? That's not where you want to be when you have an offensive line that's had some issues so far.
We'll say we did see Andres Pete working off to the side because I believe the NFL rule is you have to get a practice in to then get out of concussion protocol. So who knows? This could all be a non-issue by Sunday if Andres Pete is good to go on the offensive line.
Yeah, it could be. So, but still, like when you have these issues on the offensive line, anything that pops up is a threat to success. But if Andres Pete can play, I actually like that configuration a little bit better. I think Pete's played well in the spots that he's been out there. He got knocked out of last week's game with the concussion, but I thought he was pretty solid overall in the times that he was able to play. So if he's good to go, no issue at all. If he's not and Hurst isn't, it's possibly a red alarm situation, but we just don't have enough information to really know where that one falls yet.
Looks like Foster Moreau is going to be up, and kind of interesting in today's practice, we saw A.T. Perry getting a lot of action. And look, we've been talking about how this room really needs to bulk up. Like, you guys have the starters that are talented, but they can't play the entire game. So we might see A.T. Perry this Sunday playing behind the starters.
Yeah, and I talked to him today, and he's kind of just going through his process. He's dying to get back out on the field. Like, it's been a long time since he's had to sit and watch other people play football. He's taking it in stride. He has the right mentality. He's using it as a learning experience. But as a competitive person, it's killing him to watch other people play. He's been doing a lot of work on special teams, too. So at some point, his number could get called. Maybe it's this week. Maybe it's down the road. Very talented player. Had a good summer. It would be interesting to see him out there getting some reps.
And different from last week, Derek Carr did practice and throw all week, which, as we know, is a big difference from last week when he did not throw, I believe, until Saturday. We saw him throw a little bit in practice on Friday. He ended up being limited last week, Friday, but he practiced all week this week throwing. Dennis Allen said he doesn't necessarily want to use it. Gives you some certainty with the play calling, but it does help having Derek Carr out there and being able to work on the game plan during the week.
I mean, he had 13 passes behind the line of scrimmage last week, so whatever it is, like if he needs to be able to throw the ball more down the field this week than he did last week. They've all said that last week's game plan wasn't due to the shoulder. I'm not sure I buy that. I feel like it kind of has to be. Like, you had historical numbers for throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. That doesn't happen by chance when your guy has a shoulder injury. So we'll see how it goes. Like, I thought he looked good in practice last week, but it's such a controlled atmosphere. It's such a small window. I don't know. Like, we'll kind of have to wait and see, but being one more week removed from it, it probably is a good thing, and at least they know who's starting this week.
Absolutely, especially when you're going up against a coach like Bill Belichick, who, as we've been talking about all week, he's going to throw new looks at this team and figure out where their weaknesses are. But the Saints defense didn't have the best game last week, and they're looking to get back to it. Demario Davis said the hunters have to hunt. We got to get the quarterback down.
Yeah, they need more sacks. There hasn't been enough since the first 2 weeks of the season. They got off to a really good start, and it's kind of just disappeared overall. That pass rush that we started to feel optimistic about now is kind of like a reason for pessimism. One thing that is interesting this year, Cam Jordan's getting doubled at the highest percentage of his career, or of the last 4 years. You got to go back 4 years to find a number higher. He hasn't had a lot of production at half a sack. His pressure numbers are higher than they were last year, though, when he had 8.5 sacks. So he's around the quarterback. He's just not quite finishing plays. I feel like they've been knocking on the door a little bit, but I do have concerns overall about this pass rush. It was my biggest point of concern entering the season. In first 2 weeks, I felt like, all right, I was wrong about it. Last 2 weeks, it's kind of like back to the worrisome spot. So let's see how it goes. But this is a week where they need to get after Mac Jones. If you can get pressure on him, he'll probably throw you a pick at some point.
This is a week where they need to just establish some sort of dominance. We haven't seen it yet from the offense. We haven't seen the offense click. I know Pete Carmichael probably feels like his back is against the wall. I think the entire offense feels like their back is against the wall, and they're at a point right now where they need to prove that we have all of this talent and we know how to utilize it. Derek Carr expressed frustration when he talked to us on Wednesday. I'd like to see this Saints get out of this scoring category of averaging 15 points per game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that they can do that in New England.
How do you think Pete responds? Just kind of, he has his back against the wall. He's under fire a little bit. Do you expect him to have a better game this week?
He better. I think truly, not only does he feel like his back is against the wall with the media and even what we've seen and in your breakdown as well, but there's got to be some pressure in the building. And for a defensive-minded coach, Dennis Allen, he's really giving all of the cards to Pete Carmichael to figure it out. And you do have guys on this coaching staff that can figure it out. Ronald Curry called a lot of the offensive plays in the preseason. You've got established guys around in that room. I think Pete Carmichael will figure it out. Let's not forget in recent years, when Sean had to go out, he coached that season. And then Teron Armstead told us in the offseason that Pete Carmichael ended up calling more plays than maybe some people expected throughout the year. So just prove it. Put it out there on display and finally get this offense back to where it needs to be.
I do think it's a little bit different when you have Drew Brees, though.
Absolutely.
It's so much easier to, if you make the wrong play, Drew can make the right decision and get you out of it. I don't think they have the same talent around. So, I agree, though. I think the pressure on Pete is so high right now. I think he probably has a week or two to kind of figure things out. There's frustration in the locker room, too. And it's I wouldn't say it's like a simmering pot, but the pot, there's fire underneath it a little bit. They want to play better. They don't want to lose. They know they're too good to be in this situation. So, I don't know. The one reason I think it gets better is because it just feels like it can't get worse. And
Absolutely.
The players are too good for it to kind of stay where it's
when
at.
Alvin Kamara is calling the play calling predictable, you've got a problem. Yeah. And I think this team is going to respond, but they've got to win the matchups. And we will have that live on NewOrleans.Football in our show this afternoon. Come join us live on YouTube where we will be breaking down all of the key matchups.